everyone, Milkman234 here, and welcome to the Forgotten Media Thanksgiving Special, where I give thanks to the Forgotten. Yeah, I honestly couldn't think of a better intro for doing my first Thanksgiving special on Forgotten Media.
Yeah, Thanksgiving, the holiday that no one really cares about, mostly for two reasons. First one is, well, it's obviously sandwiched between Halloween and Christmas, two of the most popular holidays. Hence why Halloween is over, you will immediately see Christmas decorations all decked out in stores. And the other reason is simply because it's a very American holiday and not celebrated in other parts of the world.
And because of that, it can be real challenging to try and find a Thanksgiving special to talk about on Forgotten Media. When it comes to TV specials, there really aren't that many of them. But I did manage to find one that I did find very interesting, and that is Thanksgiving in the Land of Oz.
This was originally a Thanksgiving TV special made in 1980. The film opens up with Dorothy dreaming of her time in the Land of Oz, only to be woken up by the harsh reality she's currently living in with Aunt Em, Uncle Henry, and their financial troubles. They'll be losing the farm soon, and Dorothy will have to live with her cousins while her grandparents are sent to a retirement home. So they decide to try and go out on a positive note by preparing one last feast together. But then their mince pie gets stolen and Dorothy chases after the thief, only to reveal that it's actually the Wizard of Oz, voiced by Sid Caesar in this film, a man who's been in many films and TV shows. First time I've ever heard of this guy was when he played Dr. Dustin Diablo from the Munster's Revenge. So yeah, he made it back to Kansas safe and sound, and it turns out he's also been dealing with financial troubles as well. His ballooning services hasn't been doing well, especially with his latest creation being a green turkey made for parades, yet no one wanted it. I can see why. But then the balloon gets loose, snatches the mince pie, and Dorothy and Toto grab onto the balloon and end up floating back to the Land of Oz. There she meets Jack Pumpkinhead, who is the guardian of the Powder of Life. Yeah, the same stuff that brought him to life. He tells her that even though the Wicked Witch of the West is gone, Oz is now dealing with a new evil, Tyrone the Terrible Toy Tinker. And speaking of which, Tyrone quickly shows up, steals the powder, and brings the turkey balloon to life, now dubbing it the Green Gobbler. He then flies off to begin his master plan, bring his army of lead toy soldiers to life, and conquer the Emerald City. So now it's up to Dorothy, Toto, and Jack Pumpkinhead to stop his evil plans before it's sunrise, as the Powder of Life only works by daylight. Oh yeah, and the freaking mince pie starts talking as well. Yeah, some of the Powder of Life got onto the pie, and, well, he's pretty much the most pointless character in the special. He doesn't really do much. His only gimmick is speaking in a different accent whenever he feels like talking. Anyway, they begin their little adventure and encounter other strange creatures who join them, such as the Hungry Tiger, who's always hungry but can't eat anything because of his conscience telling him that it's wrong to eat victims, and Tick-Tock, a mechanical wind-up man. Yeah, Dorothy teaming up with Jack Pumpkinhead and Tick-Tock just like in Return to Oz, although funny enough, this special predates that film by 5 years. So our group managed to find Tyrone's castle set on top of a dead volcano. The Green Gobbler swoops in and captures Dorothy and takes her to Tyrone. He tries to scare her from his, evil presence, but Dorothy isn't fazed, cause according to her, Kansas girls ain't scared of nothing. Well, with how common tornadoes are down there, I can imagine that. After some talking, it's revealed that Tyrone always wanted to open a toy shop but ended up taking the wrong path in life. Dorothy tells him that he still has a chance to redeem himself, and she tells him in song, which is basically trying to convince Tyrone that he could pretty much be Oz's version of Santa Claus, delivering toys to children on Christmas and such and such. Yeah, even in a Thanksgiving special, you can't escape the presence of Christmas. And apparently that's all it takes for Tyrone to give up his villainy. Too bad Dorothy's friends weren't listening because they tried to attack Tyrone, and it ends up with him dropping the Powder of Life into the volcano, and rather than making the volcano come to life and have a face and talk, it now becomes an active volcano, which is kinda clever. Luckily, Tyrone calls forth the Green Gobbler, and they manage to escape from being burned alive by the volcano. They make their way to the Emerald City, where Princess Ozma is the ruler. Dorothy wants to return to Kansas, but Ozma suggests to bring Aunt Em and Uncle Henry to Oz, and that's what happens. And so the film ends with Dorothy with her grandparents, her Oz friends, and even the wizard who came along for the ride, as they celebrate a Thanksgiving feast.
And that covers Thanksgiving in the Land of Oz. It's another one of those films that tries to act like a continuation of the first Oz story, But here it's more of an Oz film that uses a lot of elements from various books. Most of them you normally don't see in other Oz media, like the idea of Aunt Em and Uncle Henry moving to Oz, which is something that originated from the Emerald City of Oz, and the Hungry Tiger character originating from Ozma of Oz. Speaking of which, I find it interesting that a lot of the characters are based off of the original illustrations from the books, the only exception being Tyrone the Terrible Toy Tinker, who's a film original. Then again, his design is heavily based off of the Gnome King. As for the film itself, I rather enjoyed it. It was a fun little adventure with all the different characters and nice little animation to it. So yeah, nice film to watch, especially if you're a fan of the original Oz books.
When it came to home media releases for VHS and DVD, they decided to change the title to Dorothy in the Land of Oz, and tried to remove any mentionings of the holiday and possibly altered some dialogue. I haven't been able to find the original TV airing of the special. I've only seen the more common edited version. Even so, they still feature images of turkeys, a big feast, and a scene where Dorothy talks about the pioneers, obviously supposed to be the pilgrims. So even in the edited version, it still feels like a Thanksgiving special. There was also a book adaptation called Dorothy and the Green Gobbler of Oz. Haven't read it, but from what I've heard, it's just a short and simple adaptation of the special. It's kinda interesting, though.
In closing, Thanksgiving/Dorothy in the Land of Oz is a short film, but it's decent. If you're tired of seeing a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving popping up year after year, I say this film's worth a watch. Man, there's definitely a lot of other Oz topics I could talk about. It'd be quite the marathon if I could do that. Speaking of which, I have been thinking about doing a special Oz month for Forgotten Media. I plan to do that next year, but we'll see whether or not the planning stages go well. So until then, this is Melting Man 234 signing out, and wishing everyone to, be thankful, or something.